Hello, and thank you for your interest in volunteering for the Helping Hands program at CARITAS. This is our required virtual volunteer orientation, CARITAS 101. Throughout the presentation, you'll get a broad overview of our origins, our history, our programs, and what the future may hold. As you will hear a few times today, CARITAS creates a safe space to heal and time to rebuild. That's our mission statement. Our programs address the core challenges standing in the way of a person's ability to achieve a life of self-sufficiency and dignity. As a result, men and women are transformed from the inside out, prepared physically and spiritually to build careers, relationships, and a community that is healthier for us all. We've been able to do this over 30 years of continuous growth, learning, partnerships, and community impact. Before we dive in, it's important to know that there are two pillars of CARITAS, and that will help the pieces of information you get today fall into place a bit easier. The foundation of everything we do at CARITAS stems from A, our emergency shelter, and B, our Healing Place program. Our men and women's emergency shelters are 60-day shelters for individuals experiencing a homelessness crisis, with the ultimate goal of participants acquiring a new living arrangement. Our Healing Place program is a long-term, peer-driven residential addiction recovery program that requires a commitment of 6 to 9 months minimum. You will hear more details about both of those as we go, but every service we provide has sprung from those two programs. We have grown and blossomed from a small seed into what we are now. So let's take a look at our humble beginnings. Believe it or not, CARITAS began in the early 80s as an all-volunteer effort called Winter Cots. This was a response to a dramatic increase of people on the street and in need of shelter caused by a convergence of social issues, including the large-scale discharge of mental health patients into the general community, the disappearance of low-rent downtown hotels, an increase in heroin and cocaine use, and a sluggish economy. Receiving guidance from Emergency Shelters Incorporated, the faith community opened the doors of its downtown churches and synagogues in the evenings to offer shelter, cots, and blankets to those in need for several weeks at a time. In 1987, this effort was formalized and CARITAS was born. The name stood for Congregations Around Richmond Involved to Assure Shelter. While we no longer use this acronym to describe our work, the spirit of the initial group of congregations lives on in what we do each day. However, the definition of the acronym still fits. CARITAS comes from the Latin, essentially meaning love and compassion. Over the years, the number of congregations that desired to be involved in the program expanded to the whole of Richmond City and several surrounding counties. Eventually, we became a year-round shelter that began to provide even more than shelter. It should be noted that previously what we called shelters were mobile shelters. We had a large CARITAS bus that was used to take our participants from church to church each week. Those congregations would adopt our shelter participants for a week, providing meals, activities, and hygiene facilities. But in 2018, the men's shelter and the Healing Place finally got a permanent building. It wasn't until 2020 that the women's shelter and Healing Place would receive their own permanent residence in the form of the CARITAS Center. In fact, the Women's Healing Place program didn't come into existence until 2020. The Healing Place was originally brought to Richmond in 2005, when it was not a program of CARITAS, it was its own entity. This happened when the Richmond Task Force on Homelessness identified a major need. Programs around the country were examined, and a successful Healing Place program was discovered in Louisville, Kentucky, a program that continues until this day. In July 2012, the Healing Place became a program of CARITAS. Over the last 17 years, the Healing Place has served more than 9,500 men, starting and continuing their journey of recovery. Now, I want to quickly highlight two vital programs that you'll learn a bit more about as we go: the Furniture Bank and CARITAS Works. In September 2008, CARITAS acquired the Furniture Bank operations from an organization called Embrace Richmond. A large leased warehouse in Southside Richmond became the premier provider of free household goods and furnishings to individuals and families who were exiting homeless shelters and crisis intervention programs. Embrace Richmond continues on as a separate entity and an important partner today. The Furniture Bank exists today in the same way it did back then, to provide the basic furnishing needs to clients exiting our programs and for community members referred to us through our partner network. Every family we serve is provided with all the household essentials they need to start over. This includes a sofa, dining tables and chairs, a dresser, mattresses, kitchenware, and more. It's through community donations that we keep the Furniture Bank stocked and ready, and how we help to turn a house into a home. And now, CARITAS Works. After witnessing challenges faced by men completing the Healing Place program, CARITAS developed the Works program through a Neighborhood Builders Grant from Bank of America. The program's mission is to provide intensive and innovative career preparation and job placement services to individuals with major barriers to employment, thus empowering them to overcome their circumstances and forge pathways to lasting success. The program began in January 2011, and as of last year, more than 800 individuals have completed the curriculum. Within 30 days, graduates find regular or transitional employment, and 90% find employment before they even finish the program. More on both of those programs a bit later. So where does all this happen? Well, now it happens at the CARITAS Center. For a long time, we've known that our clients would reap the benefits if CARITAS' programs were all under one roof. We've also known that the women in the Richmond area need our services now more than ever. So the CARITAS Center was created. First, let's take a look at our building's transformation from a Philip Morris blended leaf facility to what it is today. So as you can see, we're growing quickly to meet the needs of the community, and the timing couldn't be better as the ongoing pandemic continues to create challenging circumstances for the most vulnerable. So let's take a moment to gain an external understanding of our growth and programs. It's important to talk about why CARITAS and its programs are needed now more than ever. One thing that society has become more and more aware of is the fact that poverty, drug use, joblessness, and homelessness is an ecosystem that will sustain itself and do generational damage unless the cycles are broken. First, let's take a look at poverty here in Richmond. More than 23% of people in the Richmond area live at or below the poverty level. That's twice the rest of Virginia. Also, the poverty rate for children under 18 is nearly 40%, which is also twice the rest of Virginia. We have a lot of work to do here in Richmond. You can imagine what the pandemic has done to all those people on the edge. Not to mention the opioid epidemic. Nearly 21 million Americans struggle with the disease of opioid addiction, more than all cancers combined, according to the CDC. In 2021, over 100,000 Americans died from drug overdoses, and that's an increase of more than 28% from the year before. This is a critical problem, and I'm going to share with you how we and you are part of the solution here in Richmond. Now, I've mentioned some of our programs already, but let's take a look at what is actually under the roof of our CARITAS Center. In our 150,000 square foot building, we have the Healing Place for Women, the Women's Emergency Shelter, CARITAS Works, our workforce development program, the Furniture Bank, our recovery residences, and our CARITAS administrative offices. In addition to those programs, our general warehouse is also here. The warehouse is used for all of our overall program needs as well as for the furniture bank itself. We also have the men's campus at 700 Dinwiddie Avenue, which is home to our men's shelter and men's healing place programs. All that adds up to a lot of service and support that our clients receive. In fact, last year, CARITAS won the Virginia Governor's Housing Conference 2021 Best Housing Program Award. Here's a short video about that.
My name is Karen Stanley, and I am the President and CEO of CARITAS. The CARITAS Center was created with an adaptive reuse using historic and new market tax credits. It's a $28 million project. We took a Philip Morris manufacturing facility and created 150,000 square feet of space to help people rebuild their lives. It's all about hospitality, so it doesn't feel institutional. We have curated art, we have murals throughout, and the murals are done by people that have relationships to people in recovery, either at their own or their family or friends. And we have live plants throughout, so it's really an inviting space for people to heal. People that had significant barriers to employment. When you've got people that have been in active addiction for a long time, they've got a spotty work history, they've got felony convictions due to their addiction, and it was really hard to get it back in the workforce. So now 88% of those that go through the Works program are hired usually before they finish the program, regardless of the fact that 75% may have felonies on their record. We help them with all the soft skills. They go through mock interviews. We create a personal statement so they're able to talk about their past. They're able to say, you know what, I made some mistakes, but I paid my dues, and this is why I'd be a great employee for you. And it is a game changer. Our 47 recovery residences, our 47 sober living apartments are partially transitional apartments for men and women coming out of the healing place, but also 77 beds available for anybody that wants to live in a sober environment, regardless of what their recovery looks like. CARITAS creates a safe space to heal and time to rebuild.
Now, before we dive into our programs, I must mention that we're part of a coordinated system called the Greater Richmond Continuum of Care. It's a network that seeks to prevent, reduce, and end homelessness through coordinated community-wide efforts and services. Members of the Continuum serve unsheltered people on the street and people who need immediate housing options. Our direct partners in the Continuum include Homeward, Housing Families First, Home Again, Virginia Supportive Housing, and the Salvation Army. Our goal is to offer our community members in crisis a safe bridge between a moment of crisis and a pathway to self-sufficiency. So let's take a look at our areas of impact, starting with the shelter. The causes of homelessness can be complex and often intertwined with each other. Physical health issues, mental illness, substance use, domestic abuse, and many more contribute to the problem. Housing itself has become a supply and demand issue. There's not enough housing to meet the demands of those who need it, let alone the fact that costs have risen greatly. So, we have emergency shelters for both men and women. These shelters are for people 3 days or less away from a homelessness crisis. The men's shelter has 36 beds and the women's has 28. Our shelters are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. The Healing Place. The Healing Place is a long-term, peer-driven residential recovery program serving the greater Richmond community. Here, our neighbors suffering from substance use disorder carve pathways to sobriety, employment, and spiritual wellness. The Healing Place includes a workforce development program, a transitional sober living community, and an active alumni association to support lifelong sobriety. Nearly 70% of our alumni are sober after 1 year of completing the program. We're efficient and effective. Our program model allows us to house and provide recovery services to one person for only $21 a day, compared to $500 a day minimum for a night and traditional medical detox. Staff and peers teach 1,144 recovery classes to those in the program annually, and we offer 625 on-site open and closed Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous meetings for the community. CARITAS works. As part of the Healing Place program, our participants must complete the 6-week CARITAS Works program. The program is broken down into 3 main components. Works itself, which is a 6-week, 8-hour-a-day employment skills development program. Job Club, which provides access to the computer lab, temporary employment, and personal assistance with job applications after Works is completed. And then the Afterworks program, 2 years of job placement support, access to the computer lab, a career development specialist, and professional development classes. The Works program is available to the Healing Place participants who must complete the program as part of the requirements, but it is also available to participants from our shelter, our recovery residences, and members of the public who were referred to our program. The Healing Place participants usually transition to Works after they have completed their 12-step program, which is usually 5 to 6 months into the program, but those steps are very much self-paced. The Furniture Bank. As mentioned before, we have the Furniture Bank that provides our clients and community members that have found permanent housing a new beginning by providing essential household items. You can see by the information provided here what type of impact we had in just the last year. Take a moment to look. Finally, we have our recovery residences. Prior to moving to the center, the Healing Place was master leasing various apartments and houses in the community for our alumni to live together in sobriety. Now, with the CARITAS Center, we have 47 sober living apartments that all total can house 124 people. Approximately half are reserved for participants transitioning out of the Healing Place program, and the other half are available to members of the community who are on their journey of recovery. All residents must have at least one roommate, sign a contract agreeing to regular drug testing, attending community meetings, having no overnight visitors, and more. All this is designed to help support a safe, sober living environment for all as they continue on their journey of recovery. Rent is paid weekly and is very affordable. So what does all this cost our participants? Well, with the exception of our recovery apartments, the cost to participants enrolled in our programs is absolutely nothing. Through the goodwill and generosity of our community, we're able to provide these services to our clients at no cost. Participants also do much of the work of maintaining the facility while enrolled in our programs, including laundry, general cleaning, helping out in the furniture bank, and more. They are elected to these positions by their peers. This does more than just keep overall program costs down. It provides participants with a sense of responsibility and a feeling of gaining trust from the community around them. Speaking of costs, a bonus that goes back to the community that provides so much of our funding and donations is that our program saves the community money. You can see from this chart what some of the financial, physical, and psychological outcomes are. For people struggling with substance use disorder, the road ahead has only a few forks: recovery, incarceration, or death. It costs approximately $30,000 a year to incarcerate a person in Virginia. In comparison, the cost to send someone through the Healing Place is less than $8,000 a year and less than $10,000 when combined with our highly effective CARITAS Works program. As participants move forward in a life of recovery, they're empowered with a connected community, workforce skills, and knowledge of their disease. This helps them maintain and sustain their sobriety. The impact can be felt in a variety of ways. A recent study reported that people living in recovery are 10 times less likely to be incarcerated or visit the emergency room, which reduces the economic impact of addiction. In addition to that, sobriety leads to an increase in steady employment by 50%. As they get back to work, alumni of the Healing Place had to work every day, pay taxes, spend money, and give back to the community in their free time. They become parents, friends, and children again. They can start to dream and build a brighter future. And now, the backbone of our essential daily operations, our volunteers. While we've spent much of our time in the orientation examining our programs, the fact is that all of our programs run on the fuel of our volunteers. They support every single program and service that I've mentioned today. Any of you that have volunteered for any organization before has probably heard the phrase, "We couldn't do it without our volunteers." Well, here at CARITAS, that's not just a kind phrase, it's as genuine as it can be. Volunteers allow us to deliver our services to all clients by constructing furniture, providing hygiene kits, donating meals, sorting donations, providing valuable expertise to the Caritas Works program, and now assisting our shelter staff on a daily basis with the Helping Hands program. Not only that, but right alongside our graduating program participants, volunteers are the best ambassadors we have out in the community. Whether you give your time, talent, and/or treasure, what you do is impacting the health of our entire community. I hope all of this has given you a little scope on who we are, what we do, and what your contributions can mean. Now, as with all volunteer roles at Caritas, there will be specific trainings and orientations. For the Helping Hands program, keep an eye on your inbox for Helping Hands specific information on updates, orientations, and more. I'm very happy to welcome you all to the Caritas volunteer family, and we are so looking forward to having you and your congregation helping the participants of our shelter. We'll see you soon. And finally, if you have any questions at all about the Helping Hands program or other volunteer opportunities at Caritas, contact me, Christopher Lee, Volunteer Engagement Manager, at clee@caritasva.org. That's clee@caritasva.org.